Hey guys, welcome to Speak English with Taylor. I'm Taylor Martin, your English coach. Today's collaboration is actually a collaboration with Rebecca, another amazing English teacher. And this video is part 2 of our new series, Radio Gringa, a series in which we discuss news articles and also give you life advice. In this first collaboration, we're discussing an article about homework and whether it's actually necessary or not. You can find the article here in the description. If you haven't already, check out part 1 of this collaboration over on Rebecca's page. The link is also in the description. All right, let's get to the discussion. You guys will see as we talk about this article, homework is considered something that needs to be contextualized in order for it to be optimized for the students.
So that was something that they were talking about in this article, was that they were talking about the fact that homework is often, the quality of homework is lacking. It doesn't move learning forward. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Gosh, yeah, I think that's definitely a thing that a lot of students struggle with, right? Because homework it seems to be that extra thing that's irrelevant to the actual lesson in advancing or enhancing your learning. So there's definitely a lack of contextualization in that regard. Have you had any experience with that, as a teacher or as a student?
So it's really funny you asked me, because I used to be a teacher in the public school system, but homework is a complicated situation. One of the things that they talked about in the article was that teachers will often have quotas for homework. And this is something I myself have experienced in the public school system. We had different types of grades we had to give. In teacher talk, we say formative and summative grades. So tests, quizzes, homework. So we were obligated to have and collect homework grades.
Yeah.
So it makes it really tough because on one hand, as a teacher, I do think homework can be helpful for reinforcing things that have been learned. On the other hand, it becomes busy work or work that is just there because it has to be there. I don't personally like to give homework that is new learning because then the person could learn it incorrectly.
It's interesting because even in the article, that's the argument that was made, that oftentimes the homework, like you said, is given as busy work, or it's this brand new topic that the student or the parent have no idea how to decipher. So It's okay, what's the point? But the teachers have to do the due diligence and explain how the homework should be done. But there's not enough time,
Especially when you have a high school student, for example, who's taking a bunch of different classes and has a bunch of different teachers, it creates an issue where if each, let's say, core teacher, we use the expression core for content areas here in the United States, like English, math, science, and history. And if each of them give an hour of homework, that's 4 hours of homework a day. That's just not reasonable.
And then imagine all the students whose homework you have to grade besides the tests and quizzes.
And that creates the other issue, because on one hand, I remember having this kind of, here's a good word, conundrum, ethical issue, because on one hand, I felt like it was unfair for me as a teacher to grade homework based off of accuracy. And I felt that was unfair because if there are students who are learning English as a second language, or maybe they just don't have the resources at home, or maybe they have learning disabilities and they rely on aids or other support mechanisms in school, it's not fair to send them home where they don't have those supports and grade on accuracy. On the other hand, and this is where my conundrum existed, grading just for completion, as in you get a 100 because you did it, takes away the, let's say, the weight of that assignment. So students know that it's just a participation grade and they put whatever the heck and it's not important anymore for them.
That's so true. I mean, I had it, believe it or not, I had that same struggle teaching at the university level.
Really?
Yeah, because university, at least I taught at a specific private college where, government funding just wasn't a thing for them.
Yeah.
So they had that whole thing with student retention, and teachers were under a lot of hot water to maintain students and to always be ready to give a report on every single student. So homework was a huge part of that too. You know, me, I wanted to really go in and be able to make sure everyone was understanding. I was trying to go in and check everyone's progress, but it was like too much. I had like 100 students because I was teaching like 4 or 5 classes. So
that's a lot.
It's really hard, but it's like, if we can find like a happy medium between, like you said, not grading them based on accuracy, because like, you know, homework should be used in order for us to measure how much they've understood from what you taught.
Right.
Not on like, oh, how perfect can you get it? No, that's like literally the whole point. They're not going to get it perfectly, right? But it's interesting because in the article, there was a teacher who said, I like to give very like human-like homework to my students, like spend time with your family, you know, go outside, make observations about your day, kind of like things like that that are more human-like, that can generate very meaningful conversations in the next class day. But what's your perspective on having that mindfulness homework versus academic homework?
I think it's important to make connections to your environment and understand how your learning impacts your environment. My hesitation, where it can be a slippery slope, is not giving students like real life practices that are maybe assuming of a certain type of privilege. For example, at the end of the article, they were talking about the importance of extracurricular activities. But if these are happening outside of school, they might be paid activities. Maybe not all the families have the time or the resources to do that. I think that it's a good idea to have those like real life assignments, but they have to be really well thought out to try and avoid any kind of situation where kids feel like, well, I'm left out because of my family situation, you know?
Like I can't spend time with my family on the weekends, or
right
go to the park, you know, things
little things like that can be really isolating for kids. And what we do know is that emotions have a big impact on learning, you know? So I think the teacher has to be really mindful about how they word the assignments and how flexible they are and what those more mindful types of exercises could look like.
That's a good point. That actually wasn't like you said, it wasn't mentioned, that factor wasn't mentioned in the article.
Do you think that this type of like issue exists for adults, for example, like adults learning English? Is homework more or less important?
Well, what I'm thinking about is like a lot of adults have kids, a lot of adults have lives, they have work, you know, things that get in the way of them being able to dedicate themselves to homework. Of course, from a teacher's perspective, it's like, you know, you should do your homework because it's only an hour with me. It's only 2 hours with me. Homework is meant to fill in those gaps, but I think from the student's point of view, it's just in the way. But at the same time, and I'll kind of be the devil's advocate in this sense, I think it is also a matter of time management that a lot of people also don't have. But us as teachers, we're responsible for that too. We should teach them when's the best time. You know, that when is the time that they should dedicate to doing their homework, or maybe ahead of time before they start classes. What day can you commit? What hour can you commit to do your homework?
Like realistically.
Yeah, you know, like, because making the excuse that, oh, I just don't have time. Everyone has time for something, you know.
I tell my students to do their homework and study while they're on the toilet taking a poop. And I know that sounds crass, but everybody poops.
Yep. Like, you can't tell me you're cooking dinner while you're pooping. I'm sorry, it's not happening.
It's practical. Just leave your notebook there by the toilet. Take 5 minutes, work on it a little bit a day. I hope you poop daily. If you don't, you might want to check that out. So, you know, it's hard sometimes to find those moments, but we can. And we do know that the more contact you have with the language, the better. So maybe this is our question for the people listening is homework important? And are you pro or against homework? Pro for it or against it?
Very good. Now, so I think, of course, for us as teachers, we are both pro homework within the understanding that it will be beneficial to the student in some type of way.
It's like homework with an asterisk.
Yeah, exactly.
with the fine print, you know?
Uh-huh. Yes, most definitely. Oh, that's so exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing their comments. And also, we want to ask you, se você tem uma probleminha ou você precisa uma ajudinha, né? Manda pra gente lá nos comentários, porque a gente vai pegar e separar algumas situações, né, interessantes para dar nosso conselho.
Legal! E pode ser qualquer tipo de problema, tipo, teacher, eu quero, eu quero, sei lá, terminar
Cortar meu cabelo.
Eu faço. Né? Algo assim, tipo, não importa. Porque além da gente falar de artigos, a gente também vai dar conselhos, né? Vai ser um outro tipo de episódio para vocês. Então, é isso. Alright! Bye!
Yeah, tchau!
You're so cute!
Yeah.
I love it!